Hey, welcome to BreitWerks. What are you looking at? Well, come on. Every kid that ever played with Matchbox cars knows you go for the speed yellow car first. This is a 2003 Porsche Boxster S with an aero kit on it. Check out this spoiler in the back. So you got the front spoiler, the side skirts, and this neat spoiler. Let's see if I can get the angle. It's got a little upturned lip here at the back. So those were all factory parts. Kind of awesome. Definitely a bright yellow. All right, we're gonna get underneath her and get our annual service done. All right, we got this little speed yellow lady up on the rack, and one of the first things that I noticed was all of this stuff, and I went, uh-oh, does she have a coolant leak? And the answer is, I don't think so, and here's why. Because it's also in the fender well. So I think it was just a big puddle. So we're gonna call that no problem. We'll clean it up a little bit so we can keep an eye on it. And then last time we were in here, we changed this axle. And this time there's a big gaping hole. So that's gonna be another axle. But everything else is looking good. Motor's nice and dry. There's a little sweating coming out from where the RMS is, but certainly many Boxster owners would kill to only see that. But yeah, everything looks good. No telltale signs on the water pump. It's a very low mileage car. I want to say under 70,000 miles maybe. But yeah, so far so good. Got an axle. The only thing I'm looking at is the oil fill hose in these cars. And I think if we get enough light and get you guys in the right direction, way up there, maybe you can see it a little bit, is a little sweating. So I'm gonna definitely give that a look. But for right now, the little telltale told us it's time to do brake fluid, because as you can see, we've got plenty of pad and the rotors all look really good. So just an annual brake fluid flush, or not annual, but when needed. Yeah, those pads have a ton of material on them. So that's what we are going to endeavor on. Definitely not a quick oil change, but we'll do that part of it too. So let's see what we get to first. All right, we are in it. So I think it's the driver's side that you can sneak out under the transmission without taking a lot of stuff apart, but definitely not on the passenger side. So you got to drop the, you got to drop the little bat wing thing. Then you drop the sway bar, all in an effort to get the catalytic converter out of the way, right? That's how you know that this car's been pretty well cared for. The bolts are still in good shape on the Cat. I haven't seen a Boxster with a original stock exhaust in quite some time, but Borla stopped making theirs, so we're kind of stuck with what's out there right now. But yeah, sway bar, Cat. You got to get the batwing thing out of the way, and then they usually, if they were installed correctly and they're not aftermarket where somebody didn't grease them, they usually will come out okay. So now we're waiting for parts on this, but I think while we do that, we're gonna do our brake fluid flush. All right, we got our brake fluid flush all sorted out. I always like to double check. I mean, I know it came out of a brand new can, but let's see. We got green, no sign of water. Fabulous. Very good, very good. All right, so brake fluid flush done. I'm gonna put oil in it. And the other thing we gotta do, this gets forgotten a lot, but when an axle blows up or an axle boot blows up, you have grease all on the inside of the wheel. This one, we were pretty lucky. There's not a lot of stuff in here, maybe a little bit up there. A little can of brake clean, we should be able to get that off. So that's gonna be our next step. All right, a little degreaser, a little tugger. This little guy, you would never guess, is 20 years old. Let's see, how'd the inside come out? Not too bad at all. All the grease is gone. That's original Cosmoline. I'm not taking that off. I'm leaving that alone. But yeah, we put a silica sealant on it. What's it called? Hydro 2. So be nice and easy to wash, nice and easy to clean. And yeah, once we get an axle, we'll put her back on the car. All right, we got our new axle in. So that went pretty well. There was one thing. What we ended up having to do was we had to use Schnorr washers. That is these things with their little serrated edges. And I'll show you why. So this is your normal lock plate that goes in there. Oops, goes in there. And these guys would not fit on whatever flange this is, right? So the quality of axles, I mean, you know, who knows where they're made nowadays, but yeah. So what I did was I tried to grind one down, and I took it down as far as I felt comfortable, right? I didn't want to have a hole here or a gap. And as it is, these are already, you know, kind of undersized from, what did I say, 2D or 1/2 D from the edge. So this thing really should be 5 millimeters. But these are M10 bolts, so they get torqued to 80 Newton meters anyway. But those Schnorr washers, now there is different Schnorr washers. You got to buy the expensive ones. There are cheap ones that are out there, but the problem is at 80 Newton meters, they will crack out. So you got to get the super hardened fancy ones, and yeah, they come with that fancy price tag. But 80 Newton meters, this guy's not going anywhere. We know that. And we got the hub cleaned up. So a couple bottles of brake clean, and we were able to get all that grease off of the hub that had built up. So now we're gonna do, what does Haynes say, reverses, or assembly is reverse of removal. So we're gonna put the cap back on, we'll put the sway bar back on, and then we'll tidy everything up under here. So we're gonna get on with it. So we got everything buttoned up under here. So, you know, when you put your, I just call it the batwing pan. Don't forget that after what, 1, 2, 3, 4 nuts that you have to tighten down, 65 Newton meters, you still have the one back here. So usually you loosen that before you put the car up on a rack. If you're doing it by yourself, you probably don't have anything in the way, but yeah, all those guys get 65 Newton meters, and then we sprayed everything with Bow Shield, especially where we cleaned stuff up with brake clean. That way we don't have to worry about getting corrosion on any of those aluminum parts. So only thing left, I believe, and I'll double check this, and so should you, I believe it's 325 foot-pounds on that bolt. So we'll get the car on the ground and get that guy tightened down. But yeah, not too bad after all. New axle, brake fluid flushed, annual service, good stuff. So we're gonna get that torqued down and we'll finish this up. When somebody asks you, how do you get 325 foot-pounds of torque on that? Show them one of those. Yeah, it also doubles as a perfect torque wrench for center lock wheels. All right, last step, we're gonna take our cap. Got to make sure it's pointed towards the valve stem. All the Porsche files, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because there'll be that one guy that says, hey, your caps aren't pointed at your valve stems. Yep, that's true. Doesn't make the car any slower. Yeah, this thing is as yellow as they come, but the interior is in beautiful shape. And double checked, it's 75,000 miles. So, hey, thanks for following along. This is Mooser, 2003 Boxster S with an aero kit. But yeah, somewhere in there is a fan. You guys have a fantastic day. Check us out at BreitWerks.com.